All right, we're here with former UFC champion Holly Holm and former boxing champion. Holly, congratulations. You go into the International Boxing Hall of Fame within the last few weeks. That has to be such an honor for you.
Like super, like, I say I'm humbled and proud. I've been saying that a lot, but I am very humbled, but I'm very proud. It's a huge accomplishment and a huge honor. And it just, that's what all the hard work is for, is when things like that happen, it's just kind of a reminder. I know along the way that I'm working for something big, but to be recognized amongst the greatest in boxing, not just female, but in boxing as a whole, it's a huge honor. So I'm really excited about it.
Do you know much about how the process worked? I know that there's a committee that's connected to the Hall of Fame that focuses on women's fighters, and they've obviously come up with some great names throughout the past. But how did they lock their eyes on you? Have you been told that?
I don't know, actually. I guess because I've just been so lately, over the last, 8-10 years, I guess, I've been so focused on MMA.
Yeah.
I still watch boxing, and I'm motivated by it and inspired by it. And I've been to some big boxing matches and things like that, because I still love it. But I didn't really think this is an award for me from boxing, because I've just been so kind of MMA focused for myself anyway. And I don't know, it just kind of was a surprise when they called and they said, I was getting inducted. I was like, it's just kind of, I don't know, it's kind of surreal.
Yeah, absolutely. I was looking at your accomplishments in the boxing ring, and I noticed that literally, it's a reflection of women's boxing. All of these fights that you had, so many of them were staged at casinos in Albuquerque. And nothing more than that, nothing greater than that. This was not the UFC octagon with a packed audience in Las Vegas. This was the sport, just grinding and just doing what you could with not a lot of attention, not a lot of a fanfare, and yet you now get to appear on the grandest stage that the sport can offer because of what you did.
There's a lot of things, a lot of details to just the whole process, the whole journey. A lot of girls couldn't make even that money at home, and there was nobody promoting the fights. And how fortunate was I to have Lenny Fresquez with Fresquez Productions to put on these bouts that are for world titles and WBC, WBA, the whole list of them. It's not just little national titles. He's putting on these world title fights and making opportunities for women's boxing, not just myself, but all of these girls. And throughout this journey I had, it was not just for me, but for a lot of these girls, because I was fighting all the top girls, the top ranked girls all the time. There was nobody outside of that top 5 that I wasn't fighting for years, and which is what I wanted. He knew I didn't want to just be a paper champion and just kind of take fights, to brush up or work. No, every fight was a challenge. And, to have a promoter who's going to believe in you to do that and put the money up and put the promotion on to bring these girls from all over the world to be able to fight is a huge thing. So, I'm super proud, yes, of the accomplishment of being inducted, but I couldn't have done it without a promoter who believes in me. I couldn't have done it without a coach who guided me. And so I couldn't have done it without a team who was there for me to be my partners and help me along this journey and believe in me. So I see it as a team accomplishment. I see it as a group accomplishment. When they say that I'm inducted, I'm like, man, we are in, you know what I mean? Because I couldn't have done it without all of them.
Yeah, it's amazing. And looking back at your victories, and you mentioned the biggest names. You fought the glamour names. Mia St. John, beat her. Christy Martin, you beat her. But I remember we spoke one time, and you said, coming back from that knockout loss to Anne-Sophie Matisse, and then defeating her the way you fought her so smartly and just so brilliantly, really kind of paved the way for who you ultimately became, because you were truly not just someone who's wild and a crazed puncher, but you were a boxer, and you won that fight by boxing. And you ended your career 2013 against a a fighter who just surrendered her world title. That's Mary McGee. So, I mean, you were at the top of your game when you left the sport and when you transcended over to the UFC, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, and actually, you know, that is one of the biggest moments as far as me digging deep into my heart with Anne Sophie. You know, she had, I think it was at the time, you know, 24 victories, 17 of them are knockouts. I was one of them. The chances of me going in and being able to do it, but one of the biggest things with that, and I make sure to try to, as you know, sometimes you don't fill in this whole like journey behind the scenes all the time. People see what's happening with the fight, but after I got knocked out that night with Anne Sophie, they asked me if I wanted to do the press conference, and I said yeah. Because the sooner that I recognize this and deal with it, the sooner I'm going to get better and the sooner I'm going to move forward. Like, I need to make this real right now. Everybody wants to go to a press conference when they win. They want to talk about the victory, but nobody wants to talk. And I felt like if I didn't go to the press conference, that means that I was trying to ignore the fact that I just got knocked out. I felt the sooner that I addressed it, the sooner I was going to be able to improve and move on. You have to accept the fact that I just got laid out big time. I just got knocked out. And I needed to go be real with myself on that. And I said, absolutely, I'm going to go to the press conference. I mean, if I can talk to him when I win, I need to be able to stand up and talk to him when I lose. And before I went out to the press conference, you know, my eye was cut. They stitched it in the back. And everybody kind of left the locker room. And Mr. Winklejohn pulled me aside. And he looked right at me and he said, Holly, you're about to go out to this press conference. And I said, yes, sir. And he's like, they're going to ask you if you want a rematch. And I said, yeah. And he goes, you know what you're going to say? And I said, what's that? And he said, hell yes, Muhammad Ali got knocked down and he came back and he's a legend and I'm working on my legacy. And he goes, because you can beat her. And those moments, before I even gave myself enough time to really doubt myself, because your own mind is your worst enemy. When you leave a loss like that, people can just be so, I mean, everybody thought I should retire. What are you doing? Why are you taking this rematch everywhere I went? But he put it in my head to not even think twice about it, to second guess myself. He said, you can beat her. I know you can. And I wouldn't tell you that if I didn't really truly believe it. You can beat her. So yes, you're going to do this. You're going to come back and you're going to win and you're going to have your own legacy built. And I said, yes, sir. And that's exactly what I said in my interview. And then it didn't leave me time to doubt myself, because trust me, your own demons in your mind, and trust, they're the worst. And that was a huge moment for me to come back. But maybe I wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't have this guidance by people who really believe in me. When you're surrounded by people who tell you you can't do it, that's weakness. And when you're around people who say, hell yes, you can do this, and legitimately mean it. You know, some people misguide. Let's go do this, and they make you take steps too soon before you're ready and things like that. But I have a lot of faith in him, and he's never guided me wrong. And so I just believed it. And if I didn't have that talk in that moment before I could go home and let it work too much in my head, I don't know what I would have thought. So yeah, I came back and I beat her, but not on my own, with a whole support system that people don't understand when they see behind the scenes. And you know, and then my last fight, you know, retiring, Mary McGee, you know, she fought a lot at 135, and actually I had already fought in MMA. And I know at one point she was like, well, I don't fight at 140, I have a 135-pound belt. And I told Lenny, I was like, let's fight for the 135-pound belt. I've already had to make 135 for MMA. Like, that'd be super cool, because then I would have had titles in 4 weight divisions instead of just 3. I still regret not trying to talk her into that. She said, no, I want to fight for your title at 140. I don't want to fight for mine at 135. And I was like, well, okay. But I still kind of like, I'm like, man, I should have gone for another weight division, you know? But oh well.
Well, we'll get to that, but I think, you know, having you telling that story, I mean, I'm sorry to bring this up for Ronda Rousey's sake, but the difference, the chasm of difference between the way you treated your loss and the way she treated the loss to you is just night and day. And look, and hearing that story, I've never heard that story from you. You could attribute what you accomplished against Ronda Rousey to maybe to that night with that conversation with Winklejohn.
Absolutely. Because like, I learned so much from that fight to be able to move forward and believe in myself. And if I wasn't surrounded by people who pushed me to that instead of catered to me when I wasn't feeling well.
Yeah.
you know, when I wasn't feeling strong. They say with like even a skittish dog, not to comfort it when it's being skittish because you reward that behavior rather than to, you know, it's actually not the most positive thing. So sometimes you have to deal with things even when it's uncomfortable, or else you're not going to grow.
Did you carry, I mean, I can remember being there with Rhonda when she was training for the fight, and she was putting on the boxing gloves. What did you think when you saw that? Because, I mean, knowing who you are, this Hall of Famer, did you know this was coming when you saw those types of things being said and being shown?
You know, as far as Rhonda and talking about her boxing and things like that, you know, she knocked out Betch Kohale. Some of the girls she actually hit pretty hard. So yeah. Any punch can land. And I know that. You could be against a first timer that's never fought before. They might catch you and knock you out. If they can handle getting hit and take one to land one, anything can happen in there. So I didn't take it lightly. I did feel that sometimes there can be a sense of false confidence. She was fighting me. I'm a different fighter than the girls that she hit with hard punches like that. She still landed some shots in the fight anyway. And anything can be the end. And so I didn't take it lightly. I take what I do very seriously. You know, I think the biggest thing I thought with boxing with her, she's a very aggressive fighter, and it's actually what's given her a lot of wins very quickly. But it also can run you into a lot of problems. And I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to stay really focused and stay real, like, just streamline. I can't mess up for 2 seconds, because if you get in a scuffle and she clenches, she can take you down, and she's quick to be grabbing for things. And so, you know, I knew that anything can happen. I didn't, you know, I think it was, some people might, I think maybe on her side was, you know what, I just don't want to let her dance around me and kick me. Or that's what she's thinking. I'm thinking, yeah. I don't want to let her take me down, because that's what even gets closer to number. I don't even want her, I'm not going to even let her hit me, because she still has punches. I mean, when you're fighting in the UFC, you're not there because of just by chance. It's all the best fighters in the world, and I don't overlook any of them. So even her boxing, yes, I knew my skill would be in a different level than hers, because just if I was going to go in and do judo with her, we got a problem, right? Because that's all she's done before then. Right. And yeah, I think I could still have a chance with things. But percentage-wise, so I knew my level of boxing was higher. She still had a chance with certain things. But I just wanted to make sure that I stayed focused with it. And I thought, honestly, if I get knocked out by her, that's going to be the biggest embarrassment of all, because it can happen. And so, you know, she's putting on her gloves. I thought, put on your gloves. I want you to be ready, because I want you to be your best you've ever been, and I still want to beat you when you're your best you've ever been.
Yeah, and you did. What a night. I mean, it still goes down as probably, in my opinion, the greatest night of UFC action in the sport's history. And look, you've never wavered. You've never shrank from any opponent. I mean, look at the people you fought. Win or lose, you know, forget it. Amanda Nunes, Chris Cyborg, Valentina Shevchenko, Misha Tate. You've literally taken on everyone in the sport that you could possibly fight, regardless of weight class. Now you're heading to this point. You were supposed to be fighting Juliana Pena, and then you had some sickness and missed that. Now you're dealing with a knee injury. When do you expect to be back in the octagon?
I'm on the other side of all that. I've had some surgeries this year, multiple surgeries. But it's just been one of those years. I want to say it could be a challenging year in that aspect, but honestly, I've fought every year of my life. This is the first year I went an entire year, and I didn't have a fight in all of 2021. And sometimes you just have to accept how life is right now. It's not always going to be your perfect plan. I was supposed to fight Pena in the beginning part of this year. I've been having abdominal pains, honestly, for about 4 years. It just got more and more frequent. And at first, it was just starting on fight week. And I always just kind of contributed it to fight week. I didn't know why, but it was like, oh, it's fight week, my stomach hurts. And it happened here and there in between, but not really badly. And then it started to get more frequent, to where it was like, you know, it got to where it was like every month, and then it was every 2 weeks. And I had told my coach, I said, You know, I even on fight week, the first time I really felt it was in Singapore, and I remember I had to go lay down. I couldn't even do my shakeout workout at night. I said, guys, I got to go lay down for a while. I can't even like hardly stand up. I can't jog. My like abdomen hurts so bad. And so then I got to this thing where it was like, you know, every time I just sleep, it seems to feel better. So I'm going to go nap. And that's kind of how I dealt with it. Dumb. I should have checked this out a long time ago. Everything's clear hindsight. What it was called hydronephrosis, and my kidney wasn't draining to my bladder. So there's like what you call your ureter, and it goes from your kidney to your bladder. And I was born this way, so it had nothing to do with anything. But the reason why I was hurt in fight week is because I would water load. So I would drink, you know, close to 2 gallons of water a day, and what was happening is my kidney's filling up and it has nowhere to go. So you're basically holding urine in your kidney. There's bacteria, and there's, you know, you can get a lot of really bad like kidney damage. You can lose a kidney over stuff like that. And so basically what I was feeling is like passing a kidney stone. That's like, you know, the pain I would feel is like, but I would just kind of be like, oh, it's fight week. And then I would cut weight and dehydrate myself to cut weight. And then the pain would go away. And it made sense why the pain would go away overnight, because I would sleep. I wasn't drinking anything, and it would give time for the other kidney to kind of work double time and then slowly drain. But, you know, I think just over time. So basically I had an artery and a blood vessel crossing over my ureter. So it was like pinching a hose. So it was choking my ureter. So it wasn't letting any fluid pass through. So it was scary.
Medicine or surgery?
Surgery. So when I went in, I went into urgent care, and, you know, I went in and I told them I had abdominal pain, and they said, well, what kind of pain are you in? And I was like, well, I drove myself to the urgent care. I've never driven myself to the urgent care in my life. I don't know. I mean, I can handle it, I guess. I mean, I was kind of hunched over, but I don't know what you call that, but like I'm here and I know my body, like something's wrong. And so they did my blood work right away, and my kidney levels were really bad. And it freaked me out. I was like, am I having like kidney failure? Like, I don't know why, but am I?
Yeah.
So they wound up doing an ultrasound. They saw fluid, but couldn't really pinpoint it. So they did a full abdominal scan, and they came in and they said, we got good news, bad news. Good news, we know exactly what it is. Bad news, it's pretty bad, and you need to get surgery right now.
Oh, wow.
So they admitted me to the hospital that night, and they put a stent in just to drain the kidney, relieve it of that pressure while I waited to actually get it reconstructed. And they just had to cut it and reattach it basically on the other side of the artery. And they told me the success rate is like 95%, and you'll never have a problem again. So that to me is promising. And that's it. I mean, I have no problems from it. I'm perfectly healthy. I actually feel healthier than I have in a long time. You don't realize things, and I'm okay talking about it. It's like, you know, it's like my urine was like cloudy for like for at least almost a year. And I kept thinking, man, I'm just dehydrated. I need to drink more water. And I would just always, drink more water. And then my stomach would hurt. So it's like kind of this ongoing cycle. My legs would like always be, I would always feel like, man, I must have eaten too much sodium. My legs are like so full of fluid, and they're heavy, and I'm holding water. And, you know, it's just a lot of things that are now like, I didn't realize how much I was dealing with for years before finding out what it was. It was like a 4.5-hour surgery to go in and fix it. And
oh my gosh. Also,
my kidney was like a floating kidney. Like it moved like a lot. So they had to stitch it to my abdomen wall. And I asked him, I said, is that probably from fighting? He said, no, honestly, all this just probably how you were born. It's just over the years it got tighter and tighter and tighter, and then finally became a problem. There were like a lot of kidney stuff you find out by chance or by accident almost, you know. So
interesting.
But it's 100%. I've had like what they call a renal exam. Learned a lot about kidneys. And where they go, you lay there for like a half hour, and they like calculate which kidney's functioning at what percentage and what level, and then they give you LASIK and then like see how much it's going to kick it out. And my right kidney is, because before I had the surgery, my left kidney was like working way harder than my right, and now it's like right down the middle. You know, it's 50-50. And the biggest thing I asked, you know, a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, are you so bummed you have like scarring from the surgery? And I was like, so my kidney's healthy. Like, that's all I
Yeah,
care
exactly.
about. I don't care about scars on my
Yeah.
stomach. My kidney's healthy. And the doctors are like, I asked him after the surgery and on my follow-up, I said, how damaged is my kidney from all this, from all the years, and then he's like, honestly, not that you're ever going to lose your other kidney, but this one's so healthy that if you had to, you could live on it alone. And I was like, that's all I care about.
Good.
Yeah.
And then how's your knee?
Good.
How's your knee?
Knee was just a scope, meniscus, and I actually had a bone fragment floating in there. It's just annoyed because it's not the first surgery I've had on that knee. But it's actually doing really well. So, and that's not like, you know, my knee has a lot of damage. I've been beating up my body for years, but my ACL is like great. Like all my ligaments in there are actually really good. So, but it's just stiff, and it's just, this surgery definitely pissed it off. But I'm at the end of the healing process. I'm going to be back to training hard, and I'm healthy inside and out and ready to go. So,
is there any way that the UFC would give you Juliana Pena in your next fight?
You know what? You never know. I don't ever go out of my way and be calling out. I just always take what I know I deserve and what fights I get and what opportunities I get. So I'll be ready for anything. If I have to have one more fight before I can go in there, if they're going to rematch before they let me fight, I mean, I get it. There might be, you know, if Nunez wants a rematch, she's probably entitled to that. I mean, I would love to fight. I honestly feel that I can beat everybody in my division. Do I have to do everything right when I'm in there? Is it hard? Yes, all of that. But I truly feel I have the ability to beat everybody in my division. So I'm just ready to get in there with whoever it is.
What would it mean for you at age 40 to stand as a UFC champion one more time?
Yeah. Exactly what I want to do. You know, I've always wanted to do something that hasn't been done before. I wanted to be a female that had, you know, titles in 3 weight classes. I believe I was the first one to ever, the first female to ever do that. I wanted to be a champion in both boxing and MMA, and I was able to do that. And at the highest level, I'm nothing against any other promotions, but I know I'm fighting the best to be the champion
For
there.
sure.
In one of the more competitive weight classes. And you know, the 115 girls pound, that's a very competitive weight class as well. I mean, those girls they're all right, you know what I mean? Like anything can happen in every single one of those fights. So I think too that's something that I'm proud of, to be able to be in that. And, you know, also to be able to come back and regain a championship after it's been gone in my 40s. There's a lot of things that are something I want to accomplish. So that's why I have my goal, my eyes set on.